Presenting today, this is Jesse Albert. He's the president at Expansive Media and new media council member at the Producers Guild of America. One quick highlight is that Jesse initiated and managed the original American Idol iTunes relationships and all digital music sales and marketing strategy for American Idol, generating $1 million in sales plus of the recordings from my iPhone. And he was active in the launch of multiple artists, including Chris Daughtry and Jordan Sparks. You were at ICM, right?
I was a senior agent at ICM, new media and branded entertainment.
Awesome. And next we have Josh McGuire. He's a manager, producer, my first boss, and a partner at Underground Films and Management.
Stories, please.
Stories.
Yeah, there's a lot.
He does conference calls with a bat sometimes.
That is true. That's factual.
He's fresh off executive producing season 1 of Heathers for his client Jason McAuliffe or McAuliffe. I always say it wrong. And Underground represents talent like Billy Zane, Andrew Goldberg, and John Singleton. For Singleton, his recent FX hit Snowfall, Underground executive produced and served as the production company. Next we have Jenna Lorenzo. She wrote, directed, and starred in Lesbom. It's a feature film that is 2 weeks from being done with post. Bobby Farrelly and her met last year at ITVFest after her short Girl Night Stand made it into the festival, and they worked together on Lesbom. And then last but not least, we have David Risdale. Risdale, yes. He's an actor, writer, and producer known for That's Not Us, Black Swell, and The Revival. He's got multiple projects in post-production slated to release late this year and into next year. And his films have played at festivals all over the world, including the Berlinale, Cannes, Aspen, South by Southwest, Nashville, Slam Dance, Florida, Palm Springs, and the Hamptons. He's currently represented by ATA Management. And that's our panelists. Yay, round of applause. And I'm the CEO of The Machine. It's a management, advertising, and production firm that makes consumer valued content through our work with talent that is emerging in new platforms and technologies. So I want to kick this off talking to our talent, that's creators on our panel. How did you end up finding your representation? When did that start? And how's it been so far?
Let you kick this off.
All right, well, it took me a long time. I actually got dropped by agents when I moved to New York. I was 22, and then got an agent. So there's one-on-one, you pay to play kind of things that I'm sure a lot of people have done. And then a year later, I got dropped, and I was really depressed. And I was like, what am I going to do? And then I ended up just getting involved with the Columbia grad and NYU graduate program. And I did like 60 of their short films, and that led to all these creative relationships that have now come to fruition with features, and then I ended up getting on the show Bull about 6 months ago, and then that's through casting directors I got introduced to different managers and went in for meetings, and then felt like I had the power because for so long I was wanting this or having an equal power at least. Kept them being like, I want this, and then I was like, well, I'm gonna take a step back, not try to get a manager and agent, just go do short films with good directors who were passionate, and then felt like it was going to come when it was supposed to, and I was much happier and much more fulfilled, and I think I grew as a creator in the meantime, and then I was ready for it when it ended up happening.
So when you were first looking at representatives, what were they to you? And
they were just I was terrified of their phone calls, I was terrified of their emails, I would go over these damn emails over and over again before I sent them back to them, and I knew they were just writing right back to me with mistyped. They didn't care at all, and I was just
He's busy swinging a bat as well.
Yeah, he's
it's hard to type with one hand.
And then auditions, I was terrified too. I was worried they were going to drop me, which ended up happening, which is the best thing that could have happened. It's oh, I'm still here. I'm still an actor and a writer, and they don't give me the right to be this thing. So I think it was a really good thing to happen to me, even though it's the most terrifying thing that I didn't want to happen.
Well, and on the other side of the table, how do you guys, because when you were starting out, look at talent to how you look at them now?
Well, you said something really smart last night that I'm now going to pirate as my own idea.
Thanks.
But what you were talking about was don't try and find me. Your job is to go make great content.
Yeah.
My job is to find that. The thing that gets me up in the morning is finding something that I put in the category of insanely great, and if you make something that falls in that category, I will find it. Or someone like me will. Like, that's what we do. Or someone will see it, someone will tip us off, and we'll come after you. Like, your job is to create content. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, when you're at an agency.
I'm going to speak, I have the luxury of speaking as an ex-agent, right? So I can kind of tell the truth.
Which means he's got like 10% of his soul back.
Right. You should see my therapy bill too. So there's a couple things about, as an agent. First of all, at a place like ICM or UTA or CAA or whatever, if you're a new creator, the chances of us representing you are pretty slim to none, right? Unless you just pop somewhere.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but why is that? I'm sure it's
So-
like what why?
Okay, so here's the truth. Okay, we're we as an agent, it's all about deal churn, right? And they have to hit numbers, right? So it's how quickly can I do deals, right? Next one. I have to earn certain X of my salary, or I'm getting jettisoned, right? So when you get that level, it's can you make money, right? So the decision, they're not in the business of cultivating talent at that level yet, right? So we're more likely at the kind of upper echelons of agencies to steal talent from another agency who can't quite, and let's be honest, it's, words like steal. The truth is that smaller agencies don't always have the capability of packaging their talent to create a production, right? Whereas a larger agency can. So there is a benefit to making that leap. There's also a detriment to making a leap to a larger agency, right? Are you going to be seen? Are you going to be heard? Are they going to really pay attention to you? All of those things. So if I'm at, an upper level agency, I'm looking at really, can that person make me money? And that's it. And I tell people this when they're talking about, how do I get an agent, stuff like that. Your job is to make your agent money, right? And I'm sorry to say that, but it's kind of the truth, right? If you go in, and I told a lot of people, kiss your agent in on this deal. Go get an agent off of this deal and kiss them in and give them their percentage, even though you probably did all the work to make that happen, to package it up. But it's going to show value to them, and then they're going to pay attention to you, right? So that's kind of how it works, really. In terms of, when I was an agent, what I was looking for is like, to your point, right? There's a financial aspect to it, but there's also talent. And there are some really great agents who really cull through film festivals and word of mouth, and we're meeting lawyers do us favors and send their clients, managers do favors and send us clients, and some agents will go, well, he can make me money, I'll sign him, and some agents will go, that person's talented, and that's really what I care about. And there's some agents who are also really good at resurrecting talent.
Well, and talent is going to be the thing that leads to the money generation in an industry that's about creating the art, I think, right? And so like with your short film last year, putting that short out, if someone had signed you off of that short, or maybe before it hit the festival, I don't know if they had or not.
Well, I started working with Brillstein because I had made content that had gotten some press, and then I just kept putting stuff on the internet, because I felt like that was the easiest way to get eyes on it. Because even when you go to festivals, I think it's so great, but I was trying to generate interest on the feature, which I just shot, by proving that there was an audience hungry for such content. So by releasing the short film on the web, when it went viral, it made that conversation much easier, because I could point to the analytics and say, oh, look, this is the audience that's hungry for this content. Please give me the money to make the feature version of it, and it made the conversation with representatives a lot easier. But like we're right now trying to package another movie at the bigger agencies, and even at the bigger agencies, they're so distracted by their clients that are making them millions and millions and millions of dollars that like we go to like the young and hungry agents because they're like looking to hustle. And that's like, I got brought into Brillstein because I was working with an assistant, and then I was working with him for a long time, and then he was a manager, and then he pulled me into a more senior person. but it was like a long time. It was like a marathon. It's like not the sprint. You're like,
Yeah, I mean I think that's key. Like, so you were working with an assistant level person who's hungry, and they're going to be so your boat's rising up.
Yeah.
Their boat's going to be rising up as well potentially, and they have the time. Is that because you guys were assistants at one point? I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Is that how it worked for you guys too?
Yeah, I hip pocketed a lot of stuff as an assistant, by the way.
What does hip pocketing mean? Just in case people.
Yeah. So I found people that I really thought were talented when I was an assistant, and I would hustle them on the side. Like there's kind of a famous story that Variety actually ultimately printed, where I found some classmates of mine from SC Film School who had an amazing pitch, like amazing. And my boss, who was an agent, went on vacation, and I went out with it. And the next thing you know, you had studios bidding against one another. So you had Disney bidding against DreamWorks. We actually had to tell all the other studios to get out of the bid because it had IP that was. So you had DreamWorks bidding on it to piss off Disney, and vice versa, And it finally, Jeremy Zimmer had to step in, and Dan Aloni had to step in, who they're the big dogs at the agency, and say, "Great job, now go away," and close it up. Look, I mean, there are hungry, aggressive assistants who will do that shit, and I was one of them, right? So you may not be ready, but you may have talent, and so they'll hip hop you. They'll pick you up, and they'll put you on some general meetings and introduce you around. And if you perform, if you do well, then they're going to go, okay, you're safe to put out there in those meetings, and maybe take them on. I don't know.
When someone's ready, when you said ready, they're ready. What does that mean for you guys? And I know you do literary and acting. I mean, what do you do?
I do exclusively writers and directors. There are people at my company who represent actors. It's just I don't speak actor.
And present company excluded, they're crazy.
I mean, they're all crazy. It's just different.
Right.
We're all crazy. We work in the
We're the crazy
You have to be nuts to get in this. I mean, the same story is true for me. Like, I was an assistant. I told my boss that I would continue being an assistant as long as they'd let me start signing clients. And their response was like, yeah, that's cute, go sign clients. And my first client was a writer that I'd known for like 3 years. I'd been his sounding board on everything he was writing. Jason McAuliffe, who we're just coming off Heathers together. But that was 10 years ago, and he was my first client. He's still a huge client for me. Off of him, I've signed, I don't know, 9 other writers, because if I'm sitting in a room with you trying to sign you, it's a person sitting across from you clearly trying to sell you something. And that's not a great way to start a relationship. So my business has grown because I do a good job for one person, and then they go tell their friends, hey, my manager's good at what he does. Mm-hmm. And then that's how my whole business has grown. So yeah, I mean, while I'm always looking for insanely great stuff, there's a lot of, like, we're promoting my former assistant right now, so a lot of that stuff, like, someone sent me a short film the other day that was awesome, and I brought the writer-director in and put my former assistant in the room with us, and she's now going to be their point person with me supervising the team. So yeah.
And do you guys, how's your relationship with your representatives? You don't have to, like, name names, but just, or in the past, like, is it a personal relationship? Is it strictly business? How does it feel for you? And it's unique probably for both of you.
Yeah, I feel like the representation now I love. I've worked with people in the past, and I guess like the first time I started working with representation, I was like, oh my god, the world's gonna change, everything's gonna be so easy, and like you learn very quickly it's like not like that. And I was like, oh, like no. and I learned that like when something is on fire, they can like do something with it.
Like add more gasoline on it.
Yeah, but just sitting around, they're so busy with people who have things that are currently going on that like I quickly learned that like you have to make it go on yourself, and then they're your like teammate to like push it over the edge. And sure, they can get you meetings and stuff, but like you can't just like be hanging out waiting for them to deliver opportunity, because it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, and they need something to manage, like they're not going to create it for you exactly. So I think, but it does feel good to have someone that has your back, and I think you want to have this relationship that you aren't best friends. I mean, but I have also with the manager that there's just two guys, and I am much closer to one than the other, and I realize the other guy is just like is not my guy, and that's fine. He's and I don't need to be best friends with them. I just need to feel like that we both have a clear idea of what I want to do, and that we can work for that together.
And they focus on acting for you, or writing?
Acting, right? But they also like I'm going to make my first feature as a director in March, and they helped with the lookbook, and they brought me on as an actor, and then I really into like the literary stuff.
And what was the process like for that feature? You started an idea, you called them up?
I made a short that did a lot of festivals like 2 years ago, and then I've been working on this feature for the last 2 years, and so now, and my girlfriend is also, she's on the show Atlanta. She's a fan on that show. Nice. I'm very proud of her. She was supposed to be here today, but she's not here. But so we've been working on the script together, and then we've been pitching that the last month. We've been doing a lot of pitches on that, and so they've been helpful, just like with well, does this contract make sense, and then helping us get lawyers, the right lawyers in the room to be a part of that. But that's all like us generating it, and then them helping to put it together for us.
Mm-hmm. So like navigating the crazy that is the industry.
Yeah. And it's like why trust their opinion? So I can, if this person says that, is that bullshit or not? Can I send it to them? And they'll be like, oh no, that's okay, and or that's I don't know. You know.
Yeah.
And in the past, without naming names, has there been any like other representatives? Like what has been bad for you guys that you guys didn't like as artists, or what maybe rubbed you wrong, or you learned later?
There's a chance for revenge.
No, I mean I won't name names, but like I had an agent, and then I'd go to meetings, and producers were like, "What the fuck's going on with your agent?" And I was like, "I don't think I should work on the agent," because if like I'm going to meetings and they're concerned, then obviously I should be concerned.
If they're telling you that,
yeah, exactly.
Great time.
Yeah, so, but like, I feel like everyone, they have so much going on, everyone is so busy, and there has to be sort of this understanding that like, I think there has to be mutual appreciation, and like, yeah, like it just kind of balancing act, managing expectations, not expecting way too much.
Exactly. And tell you the truth, like I want an agent to be like, you sucked in that. Like that was like, you got the feedback, and like you weren't great. Because then, and I feel like I've had agents in the past, they're like, oh that was great, and like, it was always like great, and I just didn't know. And then I was gone, you know. And so I was like, obviously that wasn't great.
And if you were going to look for representation again now, knowing what you know, because you've advanced in your careers, how would you go about that? Or what would be key to like those meetings? Or what about a manager or an agent would you be looking for?
I want to
We're playing a game right now because with Lesbom almost being done, we're talking to agencies about a sales rep while simultaneously my other movies being packaged. And then, so we're seeing which agency is the most enthusiastic and seems the hungriest. And then that would be the decision.
Okay, anything different for you?
Yeah, and also it's like the reputation. Like I know now other casting directors or like who they are in the world, or producer friends. Like what is this agent like? And then look at their cast list, like who they represent. Do I like their clients? Do I like their taste? And then I also want them to see the same thing for me. You know, like do I see what I want, career I want, and are they adding it? Are they be like, oh, actually I see this too, and that's like exciting me, or are they see me in a way different world, and not being afraid of like, well, that's great. They're not my person, and I have enough autonomy to be like, well, I like how they see me, and I like how that's going to be a great partnership. And then also be like, let's try it out for a bit, not having. I had one manager like gave me a contract right away to sign, like, and I was like, I'm not going to sign. I don't even know you. I'm going to sign this, and not being afraid to be like, well, let's like take it off and see how this is first. It's like I think it's like kind of like dating, and for me, and like is it going to work out as a relationship?
So they want to get married on the first date.
Yeah, let's do it.
That'd be great. That's awesome. And for you guys, so back to being ready. You know, I know it's different in acting and different in the different disciplines, but for you as representatives, what would ready mean for a talent that you work with, going out with them?
Well, for me, For me, like, I worry slightly less about people's level. What I'm looking for is someone who's talented and has something to say. Being a writer is a skilled profession. Like, it's a thing that you get better at. And part of my job as a lit manager is looking at someone's writing and being like, there's a voice here and there's talent here. The skill isn't quite there, but I can help with that. I can't make someone more talented. I can make them more skilled. So part of my job is to find those people, know that there's something there. One of my big like trigger points is like, I don't work with assholes. I just won't. Life's too short. I don't care how much money you make. Because my relationship is very hands-on, and I talk to my clients a lot, and I can honestly say every single person I represent is a legitimately kind, nice person. And I feel comfortable then using my relationships to move them forward. So if they are a decent human being, talented, and has something to say, then I'll engage before, say, one of the agencies would, because that's part of being a manager, is being that like more hands-on person.
And not just deals, but like.
But that's also the different, I mean, like that's, the roles are different, right? Your job, and which is why I didn't like being an agent, is because an agent isn't necessarily, doesn't have the long, we're not afforded the opportunity to have the long, well, you have the long view, but you can't really cultivate them and be as strategic as you can, as the manager can. Right, and that's your job, and so you can identify talent so I can get you there, whereas the agent's job is like, do you have the talent that I need right now to put you in at Paramount or USA Network or wherever that you can sell something, right? And those are two very different things, and in a perfect world we should work really well together, right? And see the same thing, and an agent and a manager generally rely on one another. You know, the thing is you know, we fill one another's gaps. We can be putting them into different meetings and stuff like that. So
and I mean, for me, like, to me honestly, like, the agent's a little bit more for me than it is the client, because like, it's my job. We're gonna work together to have a strategy, to do what needs to be done. But like, most of my business, I would say like 90% of my client list is with WME. And that's because when I was a baby manager, WME took really good care of me and helped me along. And I trust them, and there's a shorthand, and I know how to make that agency work to its best ability. Whereas like, I just don't happen to have that relationship with CAA. Like, I haven't shown up business. Yeah, I don't want to. But no, I happen to be loyal to those guys because I know how to, for my clients, use that agency to actually get packaging done, to get the script to X director that they happen to represent, to use their covering agents, like with Heather's, to use their covering agents to get some of the directors that we got to do episodes for us.
Got it. And covering agents, just for people.
Sorry, covering agents are basically, they're younger agents who are assigned territories. Like in the TV department, they're assigned HBO, FX, USA, and different agents are assigned to different places, and it's their responsibility to be deep in their business and know everything that's happening at their network that they can then bring back to the agency, report back in staff meeting, so the agency knows what's happening. Agency is traffic and information.
right, open writing assignments, open directing assignments, things like that.
Yeah.
And with the new changing time with the internet, I mean, you're using that to boost your feature and get it made. Do you guys see an advantage in having a following? Is that something that has played into any of the things we're doing in traditional entertainment right now? You guys are focused on like...
That was 100% for me.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I mean, that was a digital agent. You got to remember, like, the previous panel was talking about engagement, right? Because you have to understand, people can go buy followings, and do. I know people who are correspondents on networks who bought followings, right? It's engagement. It's like, how are these people interacting with their audience, and how is their audience interacting with them? Are they sharing? Things like that are really, really important. Yeah, you got to have a certain kind of threshold number, but the other thing you got to remember in this world is like, and somebody else said this on another panel, is like, all things being equal, especially with talent, right? All things being equal, If one has a large social graph and the other doesn't, guess who's going to get the job, right? Because we're not spending as much money marketing, and so that's a value add, right? And that's going to help promote whatever the project is. You know, in this world where we don't just sell into networks and studios, but we sell into brands and things like that, all of this stuff becomes meaningful, right? Because those are other revenue streams that, you know, are important to our business, and will also, by the way, help you monetize, right? Because we don't make money unless the client makes money. So all of that is absolutely important. I mean, you know, within different confines based on what your talent is, but yeah, that's important.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I think we got a little ground foundation like what the representation relationship is. So I wanted to open it up to questions for the rest of the time. Yeah, we'll start here.
So I'm a director who's interested in episodic television. I was curious if any of you directors who work in television and how you strategize to kind of find them for shows. So.
I don't, but I will tell you that, you know, the other thing I do is I teach at USC in the grad school, and I try and help my students, and so a number of them want to direct, and like the best thing you can do is if you can foster a relationship with a director and shadow them, right?
I do represent directors that work in television and have done episodic, and that's absolutely right. Is like the first step in that process is developing a relationship with a director who's working in television who will allow you to shadow them, or a showrunner who will help bring you around, show you what that process is. Episodic directing is different than what you're doing or what someone does for a pilot. Like the look, the feel, the tone, all of that's already set. Television is much more a writer's game than it is a director's game. So you're sort of stepping into a thing that's already been set up for you.
Yeah,
and they want to make sure that you know how to do that.
Yeah, I worked for Grey's Anatomy for 3 years, so I shadowed there, and I'm in the sewing program now. So I'm just trying to figure out like what my manager could be doing potentially to help along.
You're doing it.
It's just getting that. I mean, you know, getting that first one is tough. You got to find somebody who's in your corner, who's going to give you that break. And we all know it's the hardest thing in the world. I'm not going to dance around it, right? You know, and I don't word things always appropriately, but you being African American, right now is a moment for you, right? And there are people. Diversity is a huge issue in Hollywood right now. There's not enough African Americans, so there's not enough women. And the good news is
Latinos, Asian Americans,
and diversity. Right, we could go on and on and on. LGBT, you know. The good news is because there's been so much upheaval around this, there is an active effort to change that. Yes. Right?
Awesome.
It's fantastic. It really, really is. So seize the moment, right? Because there are people who will help you, right? I can tell you, right, you know, a buddy of mine is the showrunner on SWAT, right? Aaron, and I put a number of diverse people under him, you know, to go and shadow with him, and there's a whole kind of group of people who will do that, right? Women as well, like I see all the time. Women directors are bringing women actresses who want to direct under their wings and doing that. So, you know, at the end of the day, though, you're all responsible for your own careers, truly. So you got to network, right? And even once you have representation, do not stop networking. Right.
When did you, because you said that earlier, that you realized that you need to be the captain of your own career. When did that change for you? Did it start that way for you guys when you started your career? Or did you grow to figure that out?
Figure it out.
Okay.
I remember the moment where I was like, I stood opposite and we like shook hands. I was like, this is it. And it wasn't.
So you weren't famous the next day. So then when that change happened?
If it were me, it would be totally
Wrong manager.
And what was the changing moment for you guys, if you could find it? Like when your mind switched and you're like, no, I'm going to take charge of this. Yeah. Was it gradual? Was it you woke up one day and it changed?
For me, it was that moment when I got dropped. I was like 6 years ago, and I was like 25, and like had this I was gonna like move back to Minnesota and like go to some other school, and I was like, well, I'm not an actor. I can't. Obviously, this small agency thinks I'm bad. I can't do anything. And so then I was like, well, I spent like a week being like, oh, poor me. And then I was like, well, do I want to do this? Is it, and I had like a fuck 'em attitude. I'm gonna go get better at accents. I'm gonna go do like a million exercises. I'm gonna go take more training, and then start writing and like making my own shit. And
So you focused on your product. I mean, you
yeah,
were your
and
product.
I felt
You
really
focused-
empowering because I felt so much like I was under the control of these people for like, it was a really empowering moment. Yeah, moment, and still like it's really.
You said something that was really interesting in the beginning, and it's great for everybody should really pay attention to, which was that you went and you just started doing stuff with Columbia students and stuff like that, right? Actors act, directors direct, writers write. Do it. Doesn't matter how. Like, I mean, like, I tell most writers who come to me, like, how do I do it? It's like, you know, write 10 scripts. Don't write one and keep perfecting it over and over and over again, right? Write 10 scripts. If you're an actor, you act as much as you can, and that's the way you got to do it. And plus, your network now is like those people are rising. So that's what you guys got to do.
I feel, yeah, sorry.
I just to like piggyback on all of this, like yes, absolutely. It goes back to like just create great content. Like that's your job. Like you're in the right position, you're teed up to do it. But one of the directors we hired for Heathers hadn't done much TV, but he had made some cool indie, like great content that we're all like, this is awesome. Like yes, bring that guy in. So just make great stuff, and someone's gonna look at it and be like, he's worth taking a chance on.
By the way, when I was, after being an agent, I was an exec at, you know, I created the digital program for a studio, and people would come in and pitch me all the time, right? And they, you know, a guy would come in, a director, with something that he'd shot, right? And he's trying to sell it, and it may be something that I can't necessarily pick up and sell, but boy, that guy's got talent, and so somebody else needs to see that, right? And so now I know that guy, and I have a relationship with that guy. It's right here, it's in the back, right? And I never forget. So, you know, keep making.
Yeah, I think what you were saying about like writing more and more and creating different things, like I felt like the big lesson was like whatever I was in the room for, they were really interested in the next thing.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, what about this thing that I poured my heart and soul into? And they want to know what like the next thing I'm doing is. And so, and like anything that happened, like to constantly be creating made that conversation so much easier. Like, oh great, I'm so happy that you like this thing, but I also have this thing. Instead of putting all of my like eggs in one basket. And like even like, and also not holding your breath. Like even with the short film that went viral, that got acquired by a major studio. But then that studio dissolved. and so like, and like, so I remember my manager called me and I was like, can I be excited? Because I don't know at what point I can be excited about anything. Yeah.
Right.
And so I just try to like, you know, skate like delicately always and sort of never be too excited and always have more projects going.
But always look, I mean, like you might also have the most brilliant script or whatever, reel, but at the end of the day, you know, it may not sell for reasons beyond, matter of fact, most often reasons beyond your control, conflicting projects, what have you, right? Know that you've got 2 other projects in your back pocket, because if you've got talent, always the question is what else you got, right? So you don't know all the forces at play behind the scenes, right? And your agent or your manager may not also tell you. They may not even know sometimes, right? I had a great script that I went out with, and everybody's like, this is fantastic. There's another script that's out that this studio's been holding on to for a couple of years now, so we can't touch it. That other script everybody said was not nearly as good as the one I was out with, but Tom Cruise had said he was interested in the world a couple of years ago, and they had a script and a relationship with him. He hadn't probably even read the script, so nobody would touch our script, right? It's weird, right? There's so much going on that you just don't know. So just keep producing and have that stuff in your back pocket.
Yeah, and I have a massive chalkboard in my office, and written on it right now is what's next. Like it's our responsibility to be doing that as well. Like I'm coming off of a show, and that's awesome, and I'm super proud of it. It's great. What's next? Like moving forward, I've got to keep going.
Well, your next is Hawaiian yoga retreat.
Yeah, no, that's gonna be awesome.
How important do you think it is to have representation as a producer, independent producer of a production company? Is it meaningful?
I steer clear. There's this thing, look, the problem is if I'm at ICM and you come in and you're rep by CAA and you want one of our clients, do you think we're really going to give them to you? Right? So you better be sure that they're going to package you up 100%. Right? Unless you're like of such note that I want to, we want to steal you, in which case, we're going to go and do everything we can for you. But that's a really kind of fine line that you're playing. And there's another thing that's going on in the industry that I wasn't aware of when I was an agent, but there are people paying a lot of money to have their production company represented by the agency. Crazy. Like crazy, like $250,000 type stuff. Now maybe that's recoupable, but I think your job is to go out and get relationships with a lot of agents and managers.
Yep.
Can I just comment on that as well? We have my sister and I have a production company, and when we first started, everybody came to us and said, why don't you do a CAA and pay them $250,000 and they'll send you scripts. And my response was, what scripts? The ones that they can't get me? So we kind of did our whole thing, kind of proposed that, and we went and just kind of talked to all of our friends, and very quickly, I got David by saying yes to going to the Berlin Film Festival. I didn't have a film there. I saw him in a short that my friend helped produce. I was like, I want to know everything you're doing going forward. And that it wasn't his agent that spoke to me or anything like that. And then now, we've done things together and we'll continue to. So I think, not to say that agents are bad, but as a producer, I don't think we need to feel like we needed it at the start.
And if you have quality work, right, the whole thing is like you want them to feel confident putting their clients in your hands. Because it doesn't matter, you could come with a huge offer for one of our clients, but if we don't think that money is real, or we don't trust the quality, or we think it's going to be a difficult process, we're not going to risk the relationship that we have with our client who may fire us if it goes south, right? So your job is to be buttoned down and show that you can pull this off and have really good, a real, and have done other projects.
Managers a little different though for producers.
They work with anybody.
Check clears, man. No, I can't really speak to it because I've never represented a producer. There are a lot of producers that we partner with at on the production side of my company. There's a lot of producers that we partnered with, and they're people who, for whatever reason, we feel like bring a different skill set. Sometimes for television, it means that they have a pod deal, which is in essence a first look deal with ABC, NBC, CBS, or Fox. And that's useful because the television studios will sometimes buy specifically for the people that they made pod deals with. So those partnerships are meaningful. Other stuff, I'm partnered with Mike DeLuca on something, and he's one of those epic, legendary, he's a top tier producer. And I do that because I learn a lot from Mike in every single aspect of the process. There's stuff he knows after 40 years of making movies and being award nominated, that I just don't know.
He'll also open up different doors and you run at different levels, and or somebody can bring you, a producer can bring you IP that matches with your writers, and then you're both together. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways that it happens, but I don't do it from a representation standpoint.
And I've been neglecting this side of the room. You have a question?
Josh?
Yes.
What do you look for when you're taking on writers? Is there a certain style of writing, or is it what's sellable? Are you kind of looking at what the industry, what's hot in the industry right now when it comes to genres and scripts?
No, I don't chase. Fortunately, as a manager, I don't have to be a heat-seeking missile. I don't chase what's hot right now. I don't ask my writers to write to the market. I ask people to write things that are great. And what I'm looking for is stuff that's great. A lot of my business happens to be comedy because my brain just works a little bit better in that space. But no, I'm just looking for something that I either read or watch and I'm like, that's awesome. Like, this is cool and I want to be involved in it. It's not, I'm genre agnostic, I'm market agnostic. Like, if I can sell it, if it's great, I can sell it. If it's subpar or it's derivative or whatever, probably can't sell it.
And how does it get to you? Persistence or is it?
It's, at this point in my career, it's mostly relationships. When I was starting out as a manager, it was the onus was on me to pound the pavement and like here, for example, I would see every single piece of content and chase every single writer director. Other film festivals, Sundance, South by, you know, I was out every single night for drinks and out every single morning for breakfast with agents, lawyers, executives, anybody I could get my hands on. And my question was always like, what should I be reading? What should I be watching? And they'll send you stuff. But at this point in my career, it's a little bit more relationship based, and I'm trying to foster the talent that some of the junior managers at my company are bringing in.
And something I learned from you, every phone call you would end with, how can I be helpful to you right now? And that's something that I have put into my career, and I think that's what everybody in this industry should be doing. Looking at it from how is what you're doing going to be helpful to everyone else around you. And so if you're a writer, you just need to write great stuff because that's what's going to help. Yeah.
Seems like more and more playwrights are transitioning into TV and film writing. Is that definitely a trend that you expect to continue to, you know, sort of have an upward trajectory, or is it just the moment?
It's been, when I was at UTA in 2001, that they were going to Broadway and bringing in writers and turning them into 6 Feet Under, right? Those were playwrights. Rick Cleveland, who writes on everything, started that way and does a lot of it. Yeah. Highly desirable, good playwrights make for good television for some reason, and probably film. If you can write, you can write.
We have 2 to 3 minutes. Anybody else? Any questions?
We've told everybody today.
You work with designers, and at what point do you bring them into the process?
Production designer? What type of designer?
Production designers, costume designers, both.
There's below the line agencies and
There are a number of below the line agencies, and they traffic in cinematographers, costume designers, production designers. There are some line producers and UPMs that are represented. UTA, Gersh, ICM, I believe, has one. I'm not entirely sure.
I don't remember.
But there are places that deal in that market specifically. For me as a producer, it is something that happens as we're crewing up a project. And it happens, you know, in television, it happens very much so with the writer, the network, whoever's directing our pilot, myself, my producing partners, all of us kind of like, this person gets it.
Hi, thanks guys for the great panel. I have a question. So, my co-creator and I, back in LA, we wrote a great pilot and we got like the best pilot at the LA Film Fest, and I'm an actor primarily, and we wrote it, and we produced it, and we have a great director who's with APA, and so I was like, I don't know, am I supposed to be getting a literary agent or should I stick with, you know what I mean, like my acting representation and a lawyer, you know what I mean? So I was like, I don't know, like again, that person, when am I ready? Am I expecting? Or is it just a matter of like, you know, getting things out because the writing is good, and so I don't know if I should have that coming into negotiations because we're kind of starting to take some more call meetings, and I don't have that.
It's kind of a specific question that maybe we should talk to you about afterwards, but I mean, like, if you have representation, then the question is do they represent in all areas? And if they don't, then you need to figure out how you're going to get represent. You know, you don't want an acting agent to represent you on the literary side. You need somebody specific with that kind of expertise. So you're going to have to find it one way or the other.
well, thank you all so much for your time.
Thank you.